Hi, welcome to Unapologetic Belief, Unapologetically Me, and this is your host, Coach Tamisa Johnson, and we are on our final week for this devotional with Caleb Anna. As I stated before, bear with me, I had a few typos. However, I'm slowing it down. We're getting additional editors, so we're coming along. As I've always begun, I want to start off by reading the card to you, and we can read along. Either you're going to believe God or not has been a really great devotional and journaling time for this month. It has helped me tremendously. Just remembering the promises of God and standing firm on His word. Caleb Anna, to me, is just a name that I came up with defining we as women, that we're faith warriors, and really getting down to understanding Caleb, we're prayer warriors. And so we can't go around here calling ourselves Caleb because we're women. So I added the Anna, Caleb Anna. But Numbers 13 and 14 really deals with the report. And so that's why I really wanted us to read number 6 through chapter 14 to really get a feel of the children of Israel, their murmuring, their complaining, their issues, what they were going through. And even with my continual studies in this, I think, as I mentioned before, I found out that it wasn't just the children of Israel that came out of Egypt. They still had some that weren't of that lineage, and that that basically helped a lot in giving them a different change of mindset and getting them to the point where they're rethinking and remembering where they come from, the meat they ate, and almost to the point where why we just can't go back to Egypt. And so here we are back to the point where the land has already been promised. The instruction now has been given, and now it's the 12 spies' time to go and spy out the land and come back with a report. But before I even get started, the one thing that we have to remember and we can never forget, now that we've gotten ourselves back grounded, steadfast, unmovable on the things of God, His word, believing and trusting God and taking Him at His word, we can no longer run with the crowd of people that are not of the same like mind. If you're not running with the crowd of the same like-mindedness, we got to let them go. It doesn't matter at this point who they are, relatives, close friends, close loved ones. Our mindset has to be on the same level. And I'm saying that because we have dealt with our failures earlier in the month. Okay, we have wrote them down. We have looked at them to assess them, not to dwell on them and to have us burdened down or depressed, but to just acknowledge, look, I messed up because what I did was outside of the will of God. What I didn't acknowledge God, or what I did, He wasn't in the picture, or He did give me instruction, but I didn't follow Him. Whatever it may have been, we're just acknowledging it. We're repenting before Him, saying I lost focus and concentration off of what I was supposed to do or what I didn't do, and I'm asking You to forgive me, Father, believing that He is just and He's faithful to forgive. But I don't need nobody now bringing my stuff up. I don't need nobody talking about, girl, remember when? Nope, I don't need to go there because I'm not in that place anymore, right? So that's why it's very important to check on who's in your camp now. You know, who's giving you opinions that are contrary to what you're believing now. So we got to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves again, and we end up digressing when we move forward. Actually, we've moved a couple of weeks, a few days forward. We'd had about 30 days in this, right? And so as you read Numbers chapter 13 and you begin to read about the spies and how they went and spied out the land, and then they had a 40-day journey. And so when people get to talking and people don't agree and they got a different perception of what they saw, all it takes is one or two people to influence another person to get them to change their mind, change their way of thinking. And so here, after you read this, I had indicated this ain't us all day long. We've received the same instruction, but we're returning with a negative report. We all got the same instruction. What was that? Remember, it was 2 instructions. Go spy out the land that I have promised you, and be of good courage. You had 2 instructions. We all got the same instruction, but we all had a different perception of either the instruction or what we saw ended up changing our perception. And now, because what I saw through the natural eye, I'm blinded spiritually. Because Remember, there were 12, but only 10 spies returned with the negative report. I would initially believe that there had to been less than 10. And I'm saying that because they had a 40-day journey back home. And verse 25 says that they returned home after 40 days. So you know they had a serious conversation while on their way home. Y'all know how that conversation went? All it takes is one or two to change folks' mind. That's all it takes. Just imagine how the conversation went. Did you see such and such? Did you see that? Girl, I don't know. I know what God is telling us. I know what Moses said, but all it takes is one person, two people. Look around us, TV, social media. I would hope I'm an influencer, but in a good way. But people are influencers, or people are may not realize they're influencers, but they are. And what are you influencing people to do? What kind of influencer are you? And then when we do follow these influencers, we begin to conform, right? And we have to be very careful, because Paul talked about not being conformed to this world, but be transformed only by the renewing of your mind. And so when I continue to study, as I said before, I study, and then as I'm giving this to you, I continue to study to myself. And so, in my studies, I was continuing to study through this, and I found out another thing about Caleb Ana. Not only was Caleb a faith warrior, but he was a prayer warrior as well. Because what I later learned, and I'm going to read, and I have my Hebrew Bible, it's the Tanakh. And a lot of times in this translation in Hebrew, it reads differently than ESV. It reads differently, basically, than a lot of the other Bibles that we may have. And so still in Numbers chapter 13, but in here in verse 31, it says, they ascend. And I want us to key in on the plural, they. So it says, they ascended and spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin to the expanse at the approach to Hamath. And verse 22 says, they ascended in the south, and he arrived at Hebron, where there were Haman, Shishai, and Talmai, the offspring of the giant. So I said, who is he? It's they in 21, then it starts 22 as they. And then it says, and he arrived in Hebron. I said, who is he? So I began to go further into the study. He arrived at Hebron, implied that of the 12 spies, Caleb was the only one who went to the tomb of his patriarchs to pray for the strength to resist the conspiracy of his comrades. I said, what? And the place where Caleb went, not only was it the tomb of his patriarchs, but it was also the place of where God established the covenant when he promised Abraham the land to his descendants. Look, I just love that. When I saw that, I was just like, oh my goodness. Because what happened is, imagine walking home or being with somebody for 40 days of unlike-mindedness. Caleb had enough in him to say, look, I'm about to go over here. Because y'all about to conspire. Y'all got some stuff going on. I'm not believing nothing. I know we saw the same thing, but my mindset is different. And because of that, I'm about to go over here and I'm about to pray. Because I'm about to get some strength here, because not only am I going to pray, but I'm going to remember the covenant that had been established with God, with our forefather. Sometimes you got to be in that position within yourself to say, look, I got to get away from the noise. Okay, I'm going to believe God if it's the last thing that I do about everything concerning me, everything concerning my household, everything that God has promised me. I'm going to believe God with everything that I have. If I have to go away and isolate myself, if I got to go back to that same place where I know he promised me, whatever it may be. But here, Caleb had enough in him to say, I'm going here to pray. I'm not going to be involved in this conspiracy. Whatever they conjuring up, whatever they thinking, it ain't right. So I'm going to go take my time and spend some time over here. And that is where I saw Caleb Ana. I'm a faith warrior. Not only am I a faith warrior, but I'm a prayer warrior. And I'm going to believe God to do the impossible. And so here, when they get back, they came back, those 10 spies came back talking about the giants. I believe they said something like, they are of great height, and we are as grasshoppers to them. Not only did they say that, they talked about how big the land was and what it contained and how we can. But the worst of the worst was the conspiracy was real, because they could have just had the children of Israel was already having problems in the first place from chapter 6. Murmuring, complaining. They didn't want no more manna. They wanted meat. So Father said, okay, y'all gonna die with quail in your mouth. Like, I mean, he was ruthless. And so they constantly had a complaint about something. And so in the 12 spies, the spies knew the status, the mindset of the people. So you could have came back in private and talked to Moses and gave Moses your report. But no, they wanted to conspire together. They want to get the crowd all roused up. You know, they knew what they were doing when they went back in front of everybody and told them, no, we can't take the land. There's giants in the land. And compared to them, we look like grasshoppers. So at this point, it's like, oh Lord, Father, forgive me, because I've been there. You know, he's promised me something or said something, and I'm like, I can't do that. I don't got this. I don't have that. I was just talking to my husband today. You know, I'll shut myself, well, I don't got a degree, or I don't have this, or I need to do this. But what did God say? What did he promise you? And so we have to ask him for forgiveness for doubting because the thing is, and here I'm going to bring it up, seeing with my natural eye what I can't do and forgetting the one that can do the impossible, and listening to others' opinions and taking their advice. That's been me. That was them. Because sometimes it makes sense as to what they're saying, but what God said don't. And we want to be logical, and we talked about that in our last month's devotional. We want to be logical. We want to bring in ideology here, and I want it to make sense. But he's saying, I just need you to trust me. And that was that Caleb moment where I'm being easily influenced right now, but I'm going to go away. And so we got to get to the point that even though the spies had that bad report and they got everybody roused up, wait a minute, then what happened? Caleb rolled through. He rose up, right? And he acknowledged, look, Caleb never lied. He never tried to dummy nothing down. He like, right, they right. There's giants. The land is big. They right. Everything that they're saying at this point in regards to what's going on in the land, he says they're right. He says, but I always write my buts down, them conjunctions down in the Bible, especially reading your verses. You want to write that but down, because that but is there's always something after that. Just wait for it. You got to wait for it, right? And so Caleb is like, yes, everything that they saying is true about the land. Right? He says, but let me tell you, let me read. I'm going to read exactly what he say. Right here. He says it in 14. Caleb silenced the people. It's verse 13, verse 30. He silenced the people towards Moses and said, we shall surely ascend and conquer it, for we can surely do it. Look here. I mean, their report in 27 says, they reported to him and says, we arrived at the land to which you sent us, and indeed it flows with milk and honey. And this is this fruit, because they did pick the fruit and pomegranate and figs while they were there. They said, but the people that dwells in the land is powerful. The cities are fortified and very great. And we also saw the offsprings of the giants, the giants, it'll come back to me, dwells in that area of the south, the Hittites and the Amorites dwells on the mountains, and the Canaanite dwells by the sea. So they have already given the people of Israel this visual of how grand it is, and not only that, of the giants. But here Caleb comes and shushes everybody, silences everybody, and says, but we can surely ascend and conquer it, for we can surely do it. And then they got mad at him. And wanted to stone him. But the key thing is, in spite of everybody's opinions, their mindset, their theology, their logic, their ideology, their ways, Caleb still said, what they're saying is correct, but we can surely conquer the land. We can go in and we can conquer land. Why? Because he knew it was not by his power, but by God's power. He knew that he served a God that can do the impossible. Because if he didn't, he would have never took out the time to pray. He would have never stood in the midst of all of those people to stand firm on the promises of God. Because what happens is, when we doubt God and his word, we're doubting the very essence of who he is. That's why Father was so angry with them, because he wanted them to accept him as their God in every aspect of who he was. Like he told Moses, when Moses had to go in there to deliver him, and he asked God, who do I tell him that sent me? The I am. He wanted the children of Israel to know him as the I am, the all to them. So when they doubted everything and murmured and complained about everything, you were doubting the very essence of who I am. And it angered him. And there was no grace. Moses had to get on his face for them several occasions to spare their life, because God wanted to kill them. And so here with Caleb standing his ground and saying that we can do this. And so today I'm just encouraging the group that have been committed to this devotional and really getting on it, whether you got behind, it's okay, you're catching up, because I need a group of women that's ready to go to war. We wrote them down, the promises. We wrote down the instruction. Now I'm at the point where we got to believe God right now today to possess the land, to possess the promise by any means necessary. If I have to go at it by myself, if I have to go at it alone, if I have to go into that secret place with him, and it's just me and God, I'm doing what I have to do, putting my war face on, and tell the world, here comes Caleb Anna, a faithful warrior, a prayer warrior, a woman that is believing God to do the impossible. You can keep your opinions. You can keep your suggestions. You can forget about trying to tell me how to move and how to talk and how to operate. If it's not, if God didn't send you my way, we can't connect. I'm not connecting with you because it's the right thing per the new clique to do, or because we're in a time, and I'm going a little bit over my time as I conclude. We're in a time where there's a lot of women empowering women. We're in a time of a lot of women doing, different things to try to empower you. But I'm looking at this, that we have a lot of women that are petty, mean, but you saved. You're not nice. You're kind of nice, nasty a little bit, and you turn your nose up at me if I speak to you, because I'm not from your clique, or I'm not in your lane per se, I guess. I don't know, but God didn't call us to all that. I want you to win, and the reason why I want you to win is because Father wants you to win. That's why I want you to win. And if it's anything that I can do, that I'm the type of person, for instance, for example, it's this brother that goes to our church, and he makes bow ties. And so he has a website, and that's something that he really loves doing. He really enjoys doing it. And he does it in one method, but I got a different method that I shared with him. Then it take his game to the next level. Because I'm not interested in making bow ties. I can make them, but it's not a passion. But I watch how passionate he is about what he does, right? And so I gave that brother a sewing machine, some fabric, told him anytime I get an order for a square and a handkerchief, square and a bow tie, I'm going to give it to you. If they want to match a skirt, I'll give you the fabric so you can do it for their husbands. Because I want to see him win. I want to see him excel. I want to see his business thrive. I don't care who it is. I want to see you win. I want to see you excel. I want to see your business thrive. I'm not in no clique. I don't own no lane. I stay in my lane. Well, I know what I could do and what I can't do as far as ability. But I stay in my lane. But as far as you're not speaking to me because you're here, you feel like you're here, and you think I'm down here, I don't know. But it's time out for that. We got to be warriors, faith warriors, prayer warriors, Caleb-anas. And I need some committed Caleb-anas that's going to say, I'm ready to go possess the land. And so I want to know, how many do I have? And after you read this video, listen to the video, I want you to comment in the Facebook group. And if you're not in Facebook and you're hearing this on YouTube, comment it under the comments and tell me that you are Caleb-ana of today. And how many, in spite of what they've seen and what they've heard, still believe God? And how many are ready to ascend and conquer the land? Those are the questions. And I want you to journal those this week. Take them day by day. And keep telling yourself, I'm ready to ascend and conquer the land. I'm ready to go ascend and conquer the land. And so I hope this series has been a blessing to you, because it's been a blessing to me. And remember, we're in a position, we're in a time, we're in an hour that either you're going to trust God or you're not, period. There's no if, buts, maybes, or nothing about it. We can't go and we don't have time anymore for shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I wish I would have did this or anything like this. I gotta let God be God of all or not God at all. He don't want half of this or half of that. He wants the whole entire being of me, everything of me, all his trust. And so today, just remember this week, Caleb-ana. I need some rep. I need y'all to represent. I need y'all to represent faith warriors, prayer warriors, and that you're stating everywhere you go that I am believing God to do the impossible. You guys be blessed.